Begin with our CNN political analyst and White House correspondent for the New York Times, Zolan Kanno-Youngs. Retired Army Major General Randy Manner. He facilitated the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Iraq in 2010. And former Associate Counsel to President George W. Bush, Jamil Jaffer. He was the lead architect of the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act. Sounds like the perfect group of people to unpack what has been a dubious 24 hours, if not 30 plus days. Zolan, I want to begin with you because the administration is getting ready for possible in-person talks, and that will involve the Vice President of the United States. How confident is this White House that a peace deal will actually be achieved within this window?
Well, look, I mean, I think we have to remember that just earlier this morning. Right now we're talking about a potential peace deal. Just earlier this morning we had another maximalist, maybe the most maximalist threat that we've seen from the president, talking about wiping out a civilization, right? So now to already make that turn to now negotiations, I think just that arc, we have to actually capture. Just hours ago, the president was saying that basically he was prepared to launch attacks that many international law experts would say would amount to war crimes, right?
The obliteration of civilian infrastructure,
bridges, power plants, right. And now throughout this day, you have seen now, with Pakistan involved, and our reporting does show a last-ditch effort by the Chinese as well, this diplomatic breakthrough, at least for now, right, for this now 2-week delay. This is also a cycle we've seen before, right, when it comes to this president. We often
more than one deadline, multiple 5 deadlines now.
Just even in this war,
yes,
right? Just even in this war, but I'm talking beyond that. Just when it comes to the president's approach on the global stage, tariffs, Greenland, now with Iran, you have basically a vague threat, a demand, ambiguous benchmarks, a maximalist demand, and then a deadline, and then an extension as well. The difference with this is that from like tariffs or something is, tariffs, that impacts the market. This is life or death consequences, right? It's something that is war. It is intractable. And you're seeing the president can't just sort of yell or talk his way out of this. So you are seeing now the threats get even more alarming, like we saw with this morning.
But he is talking, and he's talking tonight. In fact, moments ago, the president spoke with AFP tonight, and he is declaring victory. And I'm going to quote him, total and complete victory, 100%, no question about it. He also goes on to say that Iran's uranium would be perfectly taken care of. What's your reaction?
I think it's rather to be expected, quite frankly. The president has been all over the place about what the objectives of this war are, and therefore we really never know, have we achieved them or not. I think that the points that Iran has put forward in this possible ceasefire are rather shocking. The idea that we would accept providing them reparations, the idea that we might remove all sanctions, the idea that we would allow them to continue their uranium enrichment program.
Which puts us back to zero in terms of the progress of what the war was supposed to be about,
yes.
Right?
Yes. So I think this is something where the president just had a way out once again, and therefore the opportunity to declare victory and hopefully let this sort itself out. Unfortunately, the art of the deal is not taking place here. Our president is not a good negotiator, and it's very clear with the Iranians are, quite frankly, in control of what the situation is moving forward.
Well, to your point, Zolan, as well earlier, as that arc of what's happened, including the threats to sort of obliterate a civilization and the threats as of yesterday, this 8 p.m. deadline that was supposed to happen, it came and went, about the civilian infrastructures. I mean, he would not answer this evening when asked if he would go after Iran's civilian infrastructure, like he threatened to, again, just this very morning. He said, quote, "You're going to have to see." Now, if you're talking about negotiations, there's got to be some expectation of good faith and some trust in terms of what would happen next. What would that do in terms of the wait and see aspect for the duration of a ceasefire?
Well, obviously it eliminates the ceasefire if he's going to go after any of their infrastructure, civilian or otherwise. The ceasefire is premised on the idea that they're going to reopen the straits, we're not going to bomb them, we in Israel are not going to bomb them, and that for 2 weeks we're going to negotiate to some sort of a settlement.
What I mean is his statement about you're going to have to see, having that sort of Damocles sort of looming, that's got to have an impact on one's trust in negotiations.
Fair enough, but it will hopefully cause the negotiations to come to some sort of resolution, right? The Iranians have to know that if they don't come to a deal in 2 weeks, there will be some sort of an attack. Now, look, it is acceptable to bomb bridges. It is acceptable to bomb power plants. It's not acceptable to bomb all of them, right? Some of them may have ties to military facilities. That's appropriate in a war.
But give me the contingency there. It's appropriate if.
That's right. If there are connections to military, on a case-by-case basis, you can't wipe out a civilization. That's not a thing you can do in war. We've agreed to not do things like that. And so those statements are obviously problematic by the President of the United States publicly making them. But we're here now at a deal of some sort. I agree, this 10-point plan that the Iranians have put out, I mean, we put out a Maxwell's 15-point plan. They put out a minimalist 5-point plan. This 10-point plan is actually worse than their original 5-point plan. It's a disaster. We've seen rumors about what the 10-point plan has. The U.S. hasn't confirmed any of it. The Iran National Security Council is making claims about it. If any of their claims are true, it will be worse, dramatically worse, than the Obama negotiated nuclear deal that President Trump walked away from. That would be a train wreck. That is hopefully not where we're headed, because if we are, or anywhere near that, that is a bad, bad outcome for the United States.
Well, let's talk about Zolan, because the president also revealed, this is coming in tonight as well, that he thinks China was behind Iran even agreeing to a ceasefire. What more do you know?
We do know that Pakistan was working on this throughout the day. And yes, we do have reporting that also China got involved with trying to bring about some sort of agreement to at least delay this for 2 weeks. The details of exactly how they got involved still unclear at this point. This is all just happening now.
But their incentive to maintain the instability of the region has been reported on quite extensively. Why would China want to have this moment?
I think it's go ahead.
Please. Yeah.
It's important that the world understands that China has the most to gain from this in addition to Iran. So any influence that they could have over the president to allow him a way out will be rewarded for China. So I think this is something where China will in the end benefit. But we have to remember, of course, this war has been very costly for the United States. We've expended almost 2 years of production of interceptor missiles, and those are not easy to replace. So even though we are the most powerful military on the planet, the reality is our defenses are now much weaker than they were only 30 days ago. And so we have to look at our own national defense policy as well.
Let's talk about what another country has gained in terms of strength, and that is Iran in terms of having the control over the strait. Now, they have not physically control the Strait of Hormuz. They know that it's obviously a huge chokehold, extraordinary leverage, but it is international waters. But now, based on what we're learning from the ceasefire discussions, they would essentially be the people who control it, and they have to be acquiesced to that. So what does that reopening, that power do?
Right. I mean, well, and they would, based off of, I think, the original sort of plan, the 10-point that's been submitted here. I mean, when I talk to officials familiar, like, this is a framework and a launching pad for negotiations. So I don't know if you're ever going to have an actual agreement where they agree to allow Iran to maintain control. I just don't know if that would be the case in terms of the final outcome after these 2 weeks. But look, right now, I mean, when you have a chokehold on this corridor, I mean, you're talking oil, energy prices are set globally. You have a ripple effect right now when it comes to how Iran is treating the Strait of Hormuz. This is exactly what's contributing to the economic anxiety in the U.S. It's exactly what's resulting in higher gas prices throughout, the globe at this point. So there's absolutely, substantial impacts when you come to the Strait.
What about Israel? Because there's been reporting, a source on CNN, that Israeli officials have concerns about the ceasefire agreement. What role would they be having in the duration of this ceasefire or, of course, the negotiations going forward?
Look, remember, Israel's been very involved in this conflict. They've been leading from the front in this effort. They've been bombing Iran regularly. They're the ones who eliminated Iran's air defenses at the outset before even our operation to take out their nuclear infrastructure. So Israel's been leading forward on this, and so they have a big role to play on whether this deal gets done and how it gets done. And so it would be very surprising to me if they agreed to the deal that we've got right now or the framework that's out there. Even as a starting point for negotiations, it is a catastrophically bad starting point for a framework of negotiations. No American president previously has accepted Iran having any amount of control of the Straits of Hormuz. In fact, every time they try to exert control, American presidents have forced their hand, have escorted ships through the strait. You remember the tanker wars from the 80s? President Reagan talked about peace through strength. This is not what peace threat looks like, giving Iran control of the Straits of Hormuz, allowing them to take taxes or tolls on people coming through the Straits, or having to negotiate with the Iranian Navy to get through. I realize that is today the practical effect of where we're at. That is not an acceptable end state for the United States, and hopefully that is not where the president ends up. If he does, he'll have given away another major win to the Iranians in a war that should have been resulted in wins for the American people, for American national security, and for the Iranian people. That's going to be a real bad outcome for us.
Well, General, I mean, the counterproductivity is mind-boggling based on what Jamil has described in you as well. I mean, the idea that we're still hearing about reports of missiles that are reporting across the Gulf states. We don't have a specific timeline of when the ceasefire officially begins. I recognize the impact of different time zones, the messaging through Truth Social and beyond. But the word getting around to stop attacks, that what happens in the meantime can also be very catastrophic going forward.
Yes. For the United States, we have clear lines of command and control through CENTCOM.
Right.
And so we can actually, other than for self-defense purposes, we can put out the word, we're not going to fire any missiles. The problem is many of the command and control infrastructure in Iran has been decimated. It's still somewhat intact, but it's been greatly reduced. So like in any combat situation, not everyone may get the word. And that includes, of course, in Lebanon and many of the Iranian-controlled militias that there are.
But even getting the word, is there an expectation that there is going to be essentially a uniform response, or is it splintered?
It probably will be splintered, but we would hope that over the next few days that this would iron itself out to everyone's satisfaction, to end the hostilities in all directions. That's what I hope.
Well, hope. Thank you all. I appreciate it.